ChessDiagnostic.
Hello everybody, and welcome to day 28 of 28 Days to Better Chess Tactics. So we've reached the last day of this basic to advanced tactics course, and I just want to congratulate you if you've followed along since the beginning or if you've just found this course and reached the end. Now, I want to give a quick overview of what we've went through in this entire course. So the first 10 or 11 days, we're pretty much covering basic tactical motifs, the most common tactics that present themselves in games. I gave you all the basic checkmate patterns that you should know, and then we went through another 10 or so advanced tactics, sometimes repeating the basic tactics, but looking at the advanced application of those basic motifs. So after that, we went through some games and I gave you tips on how to further improve your tactics at a more advanced level. And in this last lesson, I just want to give one additional idea, and that is basically to study tactics in the endgame. Now, tactics in the endgame can be quite dry, but they're surprisingly tactical because you have a few pieces. But the tactics in the endgame are normally lacking the sort of brilliance that you get from combinations, the excitement of sacrificing a piece, and they present themselves as just calculation exercise of looking at all the brute force checks, captures, and threats, and all the attacking moves, and how you can basically solve the position, figuring out what your opponent can do. Now, sometimes when it's a simple position, when there's just a few pieces, say 2 rooks, 2 kings, and a pawn, you'll be surprised at how many different possible moves you can have, and you'll even see, once you look at grandmaster games that go in the endgame, of how grandmasters can misjudge and misevaluate positions, all the way from Capablanca to Kasparov. If you look at enough of their games, you'll see quite a few positions where they reach the endgame and they're winning, and they make some simple error upon analysis, but when you're actually playing the game or you try to guess the move, it's incredibly difficult. I would recommend to study the games of Rubinstein, Akbar Rubinstein, who is an amazing endgame player, especially rook endgames, because rook endgames are one of the most common endgames that you'll reach, and it's very useful to study theoretically as well as know the typical tactics that arise. All right, we're going to look at one endgame position, and then we'll conclude this course. So here's a theoretical rook endgame position, but it's actually a position after black has made a mistake, and now white has the opportunity to win through tactics. Now, the motif we covered of pawn promotion is present in this position. It's white to move if you want to pause the video. So white has multiple moves, multiple checks. He has pawn coming up, h5, as well as rook to e6. Now, you know from studying the 4-part thought process that you can apply it across all the different stages of the game, and the endgame is no different. You're basically wanting to look for all the checks, captures, and threats with that order. And in rook endgames, you especially want to do that, because you'll be surprised how often simple checks can lead to a win when you look down the rabbit hole. So in this position, h5 doesn't work, because after king to f6, and if white tries to advance the pawn, then black can actually just move the rook, and if white tries to advance it after a check of black, white has to go into the corner to keep protecting the pawn, and even if the rook moves or the king moves, black will eventually just win this pawn after king to g6, and we can chase the king back, but the king eventually will just keep coming back to g6. So for example, if we play rook to c6, then actually the king can just come to f7, and we're forced to move back to prevent checkmate. All right, so if we go back to the initial position here, if we look at rook to e6 check, then the king only has one option, which is to interpose with the rook, because if the king moves, then our king just takes which protects our rook and captures black's rook. So after interposing, then we can calculate checks, which h6. Now notice if the king takes, then we just take the rook and we're winning. So after the king moves, we take the rook, and then it's too late. Our pawn's going to queen. Now, if you actually tried to solve this position, it might have been simple for you, but it's actually quite complex because there's a lot of different moves and different possibilities. Because sometimes a rook moving to a specific square is needed, and it's incredibly hard to see that, even for grandmasters. Alright, so the last tip that I've given you in this course is to study endgame tactics. I've used this myself to reach from Class A to basic expert level, and it's been very effective. It improves not just your tactics in the endgame or your calculation ability, but also your overall ability to look ahead in any position. So we're back on the whiteboard here. I want to thank you again for watching and following along 28 Days to Better Chess Tactics. I'm going to give a simple overview to conclude this course of where you should be and how to progress with tactics. So if you're from 0 to 1500, I would recommend that you solve basic tactics and memorize 500 basic tactical patterns. Now, I gave a resource, which is entertainmentjourney.com, I think it is, and they have multiple 1 to 3 move patterns that I would recommend you memorize. That's a free resource. And there's also a paid resource, which is Sharpen Your Tactics. I'll include a link below. Of course, you could use any tactic books or patterns, but those are especially great resources, and I've used them myself, which is one of the main reasons I got to 1500 within a year. So once you get to 1500, you'll experience a weird effect where you know basic patterns and you can see tactics, but you still make tactical mistakes, and you're not sure exactly what to do in just some normal positions or a little more complicated tactics. So to progress to the next level, I recommend that you solve complete games, or study complete games rather, but using a guess the move approach where you try to figure out each move and try to integrate your understanding of strategy, of piece activity, to figure out when a tactical shot is possible. Now, a next idea, so from 1500 to Class A, I'd say 1800, is to memorize some games, not too many, but just start with one, and to study miniatures to start using your tactical ability from the opening. Now, this tip alone will be surprisingly effective to get you from an average level to a basic advanced club level. Now, to reach a little higher, you're going to have to learn some more theoretical information and openings, but I would recommend that if you're at this level, to follow these tips, and you'll see a lot of improvement in the next year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the future. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for future videos. See you in the future.